Hello, my name is Sai Krishna and I'm with Developer Relations at Progress. In this video, I will talk about how cloud ISVs can leverage Progress Hybrid Data Pipeline for Open Analytics, which will enable end users to use their favorite BI tools. Customers of cloud ISVs often request support for various BI or reporting tools such as Excel, Cognos, Business Objects, Tableau, Power BI, etc. Instead of building individual BI connectors, cloud ISVs have started opening their analytics via standard ODBC, JDBC, and OData. The fact that every major BI vendor supports one or more of these standards allows the end user to easily use the BI tool of their choice. Hybrid Data Pipeline can help cloud ISVs to seamlessly open their analytics through these standard-based protocols. It makes it easy to configure a secure, scalable, and HTTPS-based communication channel to the data source via ODBC, JDBC, and OData. It can be deployed anywhere. It can be behind a reverse proxy or in the cloud alongside with your cloud applications. In this demo, we will have the hybrid data pipeline behind a reverse proxy and show how you can solve the connectivity needs for various end-user personas. I have an instance of SQL Server in AWS to which we will be connecting to from hybrid data pipeline to provide ODBC or JDBC or OData connectivity. I have installed the hybrid data pipeline server in AWS EC2 through which we will connect to SQL Server. After installing the hybrid data pipeline, in the web UI, you should be able to see all the data stores supported. Note that each of these data stores supports multiple versions of databases wherever applicable. As I'm connecting to SQL Server, I choose the SQL Server data store. On the configuration page for SQL Server, I configured the connection to the SQL Server instance on AWS RDS. Then, I check if my connection is properly configured by clicking on the test connection. Looks like everything is configured perfectly. Take a note of the data source name because we'll be using it later. For users who would want to connect to the data source using ODBC driver, they can use Hybrid Data Pipeline's ODBC driver to connect to the data source. I have installed the ODBC driver for Hybrid Data Pipeline, and I have configured a data source in ODBC Administrator to connect to the data source configured in the web UI. If you see the configuration, you should notice the Hybrid Data Pipeline source name, which is SQL Server AWS, is set to the same value as we have defined in the web UI. Let me check my connection, and it looks like a success. Now, you can go to Power BI or Tableau and use this ODBC data source to connect to SQL Server via Hybrid Data Pipeline. As an example, from Power BI, choose Get Data from ODBC and choose the data source that was created in the ODBC administrator and authenticate using Hybrid Data Pipeline credentials. Now, you should see all the schemas and tables in the navigator. Choose any table that you would like to import. For users who would want to connect to the data source using JDBC driver, they can use Hybrid Data Pipeline's JDBC driver. For example, I have SAP Lumara Discovery, where I installed the Hybrid Data Pipeline's JDBC driver and configured it to connect through the data source that I created in the web UI of Hybrid Data Pipeline. Now, I'm able to connect to the data as I would with any JDBC driver. And then there are users who would want to access the data from their tools or programming languages using OData. To enable OData for your users, you need to go to the web UI and in the data source configuration, go to OData tab. Click on Configure Schema and you should be able to see all the tables in your database. You can choose to select which tables and fields in the tables to expose and click on Save and Close. That's it. You just configured OData API for your database. On the OData tab, you can find the OData Access URI. You can now take this to Excel or Tableau or Power BI or SAP Lumira or any other tool that supports OData and access your data. As an example, let me show it in Excel. On the Data tab, choose to get data from OData feed. Paste the URI and click on OK. Choose Basic Authentication and provide your hybrid data pipeline credentials. Click on Connect. You should now see all the tables that are being exposed through the endpoint. On the selection of the table, you should see preview of the data. For this demo, you might have observed that I have used basic authentication for accessing data via OData REST API, but we can also use OAuth 2 for the authentication. Also, hybrid data pipeline supports multi-tenancy. Before I conclude, I want to share with you the resources where you can learn more about hybrid data pipeline and OpenAnalytics. You can also find these resources in the description below the video. Thank you for joining me to learn about OpenAnalytics via Progress Hybrid Data Pipeline. Have a great day ahead.